Hey y'all, I thought I'd take a little rest period here. I was getting tight in my back, but people just own me. Hey, get them videos out. So here's another quick one. Cathartic. C-A-R-T, no, C. C-A-T-H-A-R-D-I-C. Cathartic. Yeah, sometimes it's for mean emptying your bowels, like diarrhea or something. And you heard people talk about diarrhea of the mouth. Well, I've got a thing that says don't be cathartic with police. No running off of the mouth with the police. It don't matter if the police come up on you on a street corner, how you doing? They stop behind you. You may have one of the world's best peace officers who is a sincere, honest guy who doing his job means keeping the peace and tranquility of the community. And he's not a statutory officer. He's a real constable or deputy sheriff or marshal that acts under oath of office and does it right. But if you don't personally know this man or this woman and you don't have a relationship with them and you don't know that, don't gamble. They talk about people going to Las Vegas are the biggest gamblers in the world. No, when you get stopped by the police and if you don't know them personally and have a personal relationship with them and you feel safe and secure, you're rolling some big dice, boy. Big dice. But if they come up there, don't be cathartic. No, run off at the mouth. Okay? Because with their little boxer quarters, if they have them, or their memories, and sometimes their memories ain't that good and they write down things that they think they heard that they really didn't hear. Okay? And then they'll put all this stuff that whatever you did say, you could maybe be a suspect in a crime or you wasn't even a suspect, but something you said caused them to believe you might be. Well, you're 2-page, 5-page, 10-page running off of the mouth, trying to be a good guy and trying to have a conversation with them and maybe get out of the ticket, then all of a sudden you're in jail on a misdemeanor or felony charge. Case in point, a man robbed a convenience store. He had a certain type vehicle and he had a certain look, but it was more of a basic description. Well, a car similar to this stopped an hour later in a high traffic area, and this was not a rare car. There's several cars that look like this one. And at that time, there were many men that had hairstyles the way this man did. So having a man of that description, that car, was more in the vague area. But because the cop entertained him into talking, and he said, we had a report of a robbery down here, and you kind of met the description and all, but looks like it wasn't you, and kind of calms the guy down. He says, but where are you coming from? Where are you going? Okay. Well, when he says he's coming from so-and-so, that put him going right in front of the location. Where are you going to? So-and-so. Well, that would have put him headed that same direction. So he didn't say nothing bad, but he just fed into it. So he said, you know how much money you got? And he said, oh, I probably got $200 or $300. Well, just so happened that was around the amount of money that was stolen out of the register. So ding, ding, ding. So now he's building up probable cause. If he hadn't talked to him, he couldn't have built no probable cause. Okay. Well, so one thing led to another. Anyway, got him out and arrested him and took him to jail. And then actually, he wound up being prosecuted and went to jail. Okay. So they sent him to jail and then to prison for like 2 to 5 years. Okay. Just so happens the guy that really did it was running his mouth 6 months, a year later about how he had robbed that place. And so they actually got some video that was kind of grainy, but it was good enough with what that guy said. And some more checking going on exonerated the other guy that was innocent and put the other guy in jail after it was reinvestigated. But the one man, he emptied out his life savings trying to buy attorneys to get him off. And so they lost. And so he lost his home and lost his little bit of money he had. and then he went to jail for 6 months or a year, filing an appeal. He stayed at the jail, I think. He might have went to prison, but anyway, he lost a lot of his life for running off at the mouth. Now, this exact same story, if they'd ask how you're doing, he'd say, well, why are you stopping me? He said, well, you fit this description. He said, well, I didn't do it. And that's all I got to say. Well, they could have got his driver's license, maybe if he presented it, insurance or registration, okay? You know, and that would have been it. And they'd have had to let him go. And he'd have went on his business. But because he kept bumping them gums and running that vocal cord and freeing his mind and heart, if you got to do that, go talk to a preacher or go talk to a priest or somebody else that's in the business of listening to confessions in a state that they're not a mandatory reporter. You know, some states, if you go tell a priest or a preacher that you did something that was, quote, sin, but in the eyes of man it was some crime, they're a mandatory reporter. So if they don't go report it, they go to jail. So if you go report a bunch of stuff to preachers and priests and rabbis, you better find out what that state law is around there if they're a mandatory reporter. Look up mandatory reporter for your state and see who they are. And you'd be surprised who mandatory reporters are, okay? You could have a CNA, certified nursing assistant, that comes by your home, you're paying her, and she happens to see you was growing cannabis in your house. Mandatory reporter because they're a healthcare worker. They saw something in the house. Well, if that's a state that allows it, fine. But if that's a state that don't, guess who's going to jail? Okay, so you paid for your help and they sent you to jail. You'd be surprised. You better look that up and find out. Okay. What else was I going to tell you? Oh, on a traffic stop. When you get stopped at traffic stops, I ain't saying pretend. You know I'd never tell you that. But here's something that probably 90% or more of the officers are not prepared for if you get sick. You're vomiting, you got diarrhea, okay? And if you're sick and it's just something like a minor equipment violation or small speed and you wasn't driving crazy or nothing, they are more likely than not to let you go. Someone's going to say, I'll call you an ambulance. No, I don't need an ambulance. I can't afford that. I'm sick on my stomach and I may throw up or I may crap in my pants any minute now here. And it's nasty. Every time that's been said to an officer I know, except for a couple, they decided to call an ambulance. Well, there ain't nothing wrong with calling an ambulance. It's on them till you sign papers, and then it's on you. If you get sick when you get stopped, and some people have nervous stomachs and they get sick on their stomach dealing with police, or they've had bad things and it makes their mind go haywire, it triggers their PTSD or whatever they got going, and they get physically and mentally sick. So they're not lying to the police, but letting the police know you're sick, you don't even have to go into why, you're just sick. You know, you may have a stomach virus, you may be contagious. You know, they may let you go. Not saying pretend, not saying lie, but if it happens, you might want to report it to them. You know what I'm saying? Just saying, I'm saying. Okay, well, I'm cutting this one down to 9 minutes. I'll think of something good here tomorrow the next day. And I was so tired, I couldn't hardly do it, so I just come and laid here on the bed for a minute and did this. But this should prove to you I'm just a regular guy, just like you. I go to sleep and I get up, I eat. I go out in the world and do my thing just like you do yours, except I woke up and I found out what's going on. And even before I knew what's going on, I still treated people pretty damn good. I didn't do nothing bad to people, like some people want to allege that don't know me from Adam's house cat. So when people that I actually arrested and put in jail, when they went back and they told the city manager or they told my chiefs of police when I was a sergeant lieutenant that I was a real man's man. And one time when the city manager got ready to fire me, I had almost 200 people standing in line. Some of them in crutches and wheelchairs. Some of them had been to jail I don't know how many times or to prison at least twice, saying that I was the man. That's how you know if you're a good cop. when you got somebody put in jail that stands up for you. I mean, I drove them over there. I didn't make them do nothing to go to jail. But when them people stand up for you, you got to be doing something right. You can't put people in jail and they come back and say, you're number one. But it's because I treated people with respect and dignity and honor and integrity. Even when they was a criminal, I did it. That's why also a couple times when I was on the side of the road, or more people helped me when I got jumped by people I was stopping that were bad guys. They helped me subdue other people. It speaks for itself. Actions speak pretty dang loud. Well, God bless you. See you folks next time. Bye-bye.